Hey, welcome back to Pagitt Radio. That's Justin Bieber live in studio. Just not our studio. He was live in somebody else's studio and recorded on YouTube. He is there's a YouTube video of him singing this very famous song of his called Baby Baby, which is not exactly a lyrical accomplishment, this song. But it plays another role. I mean, it's quite catchy. And frankly, he's sitting with a guitar player and just him, no voice enhancements, nothing else. He's 16 years old or something. And he just nails this song. Like, there is a talent in this kid that's awfully impressive. I mean, he has a presence about him and all. So musically he's significant. But Cathleen Falsani has written a book called Belieber, where she wants us to consider that perhaps there's even something more going on culturally that is represented by the fame and the faith and the heart of Justin Bieber that we should be paying attention to. So Cathleen Falsani, the author of a number of significant books, The God Factor and Sin Boldly and The Dude Abides, has taken on Justin Bieber in her in her writing.
What will she do next?
And I know that you've had to say, because I follow you in the social streams, and I know you've had to say, no, really, it's not a joke that I wrote a book about Justin Bieber. Like, you're constantly having to say, this is legitimate, there's something here, which might be the real sign that there's something important going on. I've heard people say about movements that first people ignore them, then people laugh at them, then they fear them, and then they respect them. And it could be that someone like Justin Bieber is moving through that cultural maze of moving into an age of cultural acceptance. And you've decided to say maybe there's something to pay attention to here. What is it about this kid beyond his music and his talent? Because frankly, there's a lot of people who have a lot of talent that don't attract tens of millions of people to be such rabid followers of his life, not just of his music. What do you think that's about?
Well, I mean, part of it is organically the narrative into which he was born. His mother was 17 years old when she had him in this little town in Canada. You know, on paper, I suppose, and in some people's minds, probably had everything against him. Nice. Had his mother, Patty, made a different decision, he wouldn't be with us at all.
Right.
Definitely was not from privilege. Patty was largely, she was a single mom the whole time.
And having to live under that desperate obligation of universal health care in Canada. I don't know how someone could possibly manage that.
Yeah, I know. Another strike against it. And she wanted him to go to college. She's such a snob. I'm sorry. I did. Getting far afield.
That's right.
Another book, different book. She was working, several jobs. And they were involved in a church. She became a believer with a V. Not long before she became pregnant with Justin, and thankfully was part of a church that didn't judge her or shun her, and instead did what they were supposed to do as Christians, which was support her, envelop her, and help her in every way.
Yeah.
And so Justin was raised in that milieu. His mom was a young person. Her friends were musicians. She was deeply involved in the life of the church. Faith was just a given. So
he even has a birth narrative myth around him that he overcame
really
all this.
Does.
Yeah, that's great.
So and the kids, he has this film that came out last year. It's a documentary that's actually a fantastic film. But the little girls say Justin Bieber was born on March 1st at 12:56 a.m. on a Friday. I mean, they kind of know.
Right?
Yeah, they do. Anyway, so, he was born into this, and then very early on in his life, people began to realize that he had a gift. He had this kind of preternaturally soulful voice, pitch perfect, that he had rhythm like you wouldn't believe. He taught himself how to play the drums and the guitar and the piano when he was little, and he was good.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video where his dad films him playing the drums, and he's just tearing it up. I don't know what he is, 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old, and it's really quite impressive. Yeah, so he was, but he was just a kid. Like he wasn't in a music family or anything like that.
Well, I mean, his family was musical, but no, I mean, he's not like Miley Cyrus. He doesn't come from. He's not a Hollywood scion. His uncle wasn't, an insider somewhere in the industry. No, he was just a regular kid, and that's part of the vast appeal that he has, because almost like Cinderfella, if you will, he entered
you are
this.
Clever.
Thank you. He had this. He entered this talent contest in Stratford, Ontario, where he's from, surprising his mother because she knew he was musical, but he really didn't show that part of his life. He was also very athletic, and that's what he was concerned about. So he came to her when he was 12, 13, and said, "Mom, I need your permission to enter this talent contest." And she was kind of like, "What? Oh, yeah, okay, sure, fine, but really?" And he was great, and it was a sort of American Idol style, so that it was over a number of days or number of weeks, and he kept moving on through it and didn't win it, but, did very, very well. And I guess by like the second or third performance, there were little groupie girls who were standing in the front row and filming him and stuff, so the original Bieber fans. And his mother, like so many parents do, just took, video from her camera and posted it on YouTube so that relatives in other parts of Canada who couldn't be there could see his performance.
Interesting, yeah.
Never thinking that anything would come of any. Well, they started to see that there was someone other than Justin's grandmother who was watching this. And then over time, just completely organically, people said, "Hey, do you have anything else? This kid's really good." And so she posted a few more, and then they made some goofy videos at home. And you can see all these. They're still out there. And, 6 months later, there were thousands of people watching these, and one of them happened to be this 25-year-old up-and-coming record producer in Atlanta named Scooter Braun. And he happened, if you believe in such things, happened upon this clip of Justin singing when he was looking for another singer that Akon, the Senegalese-American singer, had sent him for another musician he was thinking about signing. So he was watching that video, and, as they do on YouTube, the other suggested videos you might like, and Justin was one of those. And Scooter clicked on it and thought, wow, she's got a great voice, thinking it was a little girl.
How about that?
And then watched another one and another one, and by the time he watched the fourth or fifth, he, texted his assistant and said, "Cancel my meetings tomorrow." And
so here he has this beginning story where he comes from a difficult situation, and then he is like this social media success story of just a kid doing this thing and being discovered on YouTube.
He was discovered that way, and then they used it, with a little bit more savvy. That's how he was introduced to the world. He had 1 million fans on YouTube before his first single ever dropped.
Wow.
And kids had this, and they still do, this sense of ownership about him that I found him. I've been a fan since way back in the day when he only had 10 videos on YouTube, whatever it is. So there's that, and then there's the way in which he has continued to tell his story himself through Twitter and Facebook to a certain extent, but largely through Twitter, where if you've read, say, 10,000 of his tweets, as I have, you really start to see a picture of the sort of heart and soul and psyche of this 17-year-old kid just turned 18 this week. And
wow, interesting.
He communicates with his fans directly.
Yeah, so he has crafted a narrative that he is selling along with himself. Like he's not hiding his story.
No.
Kathleen, can you stick around for one more segment? We keep talking
Absolutely.
about this? Okay,
Sure.
Thanks. Doug Pagitt Radio with Cathleen Falsani on the story of Justin Bieber from her book, Belieber. If you have a teenager that's into music, you should probably pay attention to this book to find out what it is about Justin Bieber that's so interesting. And our very own Justin Bieber taking us out here. That's our man Brian with his own recorded music. The award-winning University of Redlands musician, Brian from AM 950, Progressive Voice of Minnesota, and DougPagittRadio.com.
Food allergies are a main